Okay, so this is the solubility and thermodynamics experiment for chemistry 1420, Gen Chem 2. Okay, and the experiment says, step 1 says use a clean dry beaker to acquire 50 to 60 mils of the saturated calcium hydroxide solution. So we have that here. You may or may not be able to see there's some white solid there at the bottom. And I'm going to pour some into this beaker. 50 to 60 milliliters or so. Okay, we've got plenty. And then it says record the temperature. So we've got our temperature probe here. Get this cord out of the way. All right. And we're going to take the temperature of the solution. Okay. And then it says to make sure that there's no solid floating around in here, we're going to make sure by doing a filtration, a gravity filtration. And so we have our piece of folded filter paper in our funnel. And as you can notice, most of the time when we do filtrations, we wet the filter paper. We're not going to do that here because we don't want to change the concentration, right? We want it saturated. So we're going to filter this here. So we're just going to filter that. Unfortunately, this does just take a little bit of time. So we filtered the solution. So we got about 60 milliliters in here. And then it says to pipette with a 10 mil pipette into 4 different Erlenmeyer flasks. So I've got my 10 milliliter pipette here, and it works better with my glove on. So I'm going to go ahead and pipetting. I'm sure you're all just super sad that you're not getting the chance to do more pipetting. All right. Okay, so you're probably not going to be able to see the meniscus on the line, but you're just going to have to trust me. And I'm going to put 10 milliliters into each of these 4 Erlenmeyer flasks. Now, before we started doing this, we filled a burette with cleaned and rinsed and filled a burette with HCl, so you can look at that. And Dr. Velkamp, who is our camera person, is going to show you the concentration on the stock bottle while I'm pipetting. That's the HCl that's in the burette. That's 2. We're going to do 4 titrations of this at this temperature for this saturated solution at this temperature, and then we're going to do the ones at the high temperature. Okay. So if you've heard me before, all right, the reason I can do this relatively quickly is I've literally done this hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So we've got one more to do. Okay. So we had to do that relatively quickly because our solution, even after we filtered it, as it sits here, right, a little bit of the water evaporates and you're going to end up with more solid back down in there. I don't know if you can see that. There is a little bit of a film starting to form. And so we don't want that to happen. So we pipetted it as quick as we could. And then it says, we are now down to step 5. It says, add 25 mils of deionized water and a few drops of bromothymol indicator. So here's our graduated cylinder. We're going to put 25 milliliters in there. Okay, that's going to take too long. Okay, doesn't have to be an exact amount, but we're going to get close. Reasonably close to 25. We're going to do that into the first sample here. Add the 25 milliliters of water. We're going to add, it says a few drops of bromothymol blue indicator. Okay, so how many do we want to do? Let's say about 5 maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, for the first one. And so we have a white background here. You can see that it says titrate the solution to the endpoint is reached. It says when bromothymol blue is used in the thing, it should initially turn blue, which it is. And then as the endpoint is approached, it will turn green, right? And then it'll go yellow, right? So that's the idea here. So we're going to add our stir bar. And then we're going to do our titration. And so first, right, we have to note what the initial reading on the burette is. Let's see if you can, whoop, we're going to try doing that and get around so you can see the numbers.
Sorry folks, I'm having a hard time being able to
go a little up.
I'm having a hard time finding the burette on the camera. Sorry folks.
Okay, so hopefully you can read off that value. That's your initial volume of HCl for the first sample. All right, raise this up a little bit higher. Let's see. All right. Okay, so we're ready to start titrating here. Okay, so since I don't have any idea exactly how much this is going to take for the first one, there's a decent chance I could overshoot. But since we're doing 4, right, the main thing we want to do is if we overshoot on the first one, we may just use the last 3. So. Okay, so we got to get to a green color and eventually a yellow color. And I'm going to have Dr. Velkamp help me with the colors because that's not necessarily my strongest forte. For those of you who don't know, I am colorblind. Although yellow to blue is actually not too bad for me. It's more of the red to yellow or a red to blue would be a really hard one for me to see. Okay, so it's starting to turn at least where the stuff hits. So we're getting close. This is a very quick dramatic endpoint, so
Probably just put it at the drop, drop, drop at this point.
there we go.
There it is. Okay.
That's yellow.
It's a little greenish yet.
Okay, so maybe one more drop.
Just one more drop.
Or wait, actually there's a little bit hanging there.
Well, I use the squirt bottle to squirt that one off in there then.
Question, will it stay that color?
So one way that you can determine if that's the color that you like is to read the volume at this point and then to add another drop and see if you like that color any better. So there's the endpoint right now, and so we're going to add another drop to see if we like that any better to the color. Sorry, I'm having a hard time finding. There we are. And yeah, that to me is more yellow than it was. Try adding one more drop. And it's wanting to fade back to green.
Right, and it does that.
Is it going to constantly fade back to green?
Not constantly.
Okay. I would say one more drop and you'll have your yellow.
As long as it's there for a good long time, we're okay.
And it's kind of fading back to green yet. It's not the
Okay.
yellow that it was. Okay, I think it's staying there.
Okay.
So let's
So this will.
see if we can read this endpoint now. And Dr. Dene, could you lower that card a little bit? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. One down, 3 more to go.
Okay, so here's the beginning point on the burette for trial number 2.
And here is our sample.
And so we've already made the sample. Go ahead and put it under the burette. And Dr. Dene is going to titrate it. We're going to pause the video while it's titrating so that you don't have to watch all of the solution going in there. So he's got it started, and so we'll tune back in when we get down to closer to the end point. Okay, so we're close to the end point now. So we're going to be adding the hydrochloric acid a little bit more slowly, and it's green. And let's see if that's that. It went back to green. 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 There's yellow. Kind of went back to green. And there's yellow. I would go one more drop. Maybe one more drop.
Okay.
That's staying yellow. So we're going to read the endpoint again. And I'll try to get a good angle on that for you. Okay. I'm going to pause the video again so we can get ready for trial number 3. Okay, we are ready for trial number 3. And here is the burette reading at the start for trial number 3. So I'm going to come back out here and see if I can find the solution. There we are. Trial number 3 is going under the burette. And so Dr. Dene is going to start that titration. And again, I'm going to pause it so that you don't have to watch the entire piece. Okay, we're close to the end point now. And so we're going to watch for that green to yellow, blue to green to yellow transition. It's kind of greenish now, so probably another couple of drops. There's yellow, but it's wanting to fade back to green, so another drop. That's going back to green again. Okay, let's see, that's still kind of greenish. Let's try one more drop. Okay, let's call that good. So now we'll come back in and read the burette. Let's see if I can zoom in on this a little bit better. And Doctor, could you slide the card up a little bit? There we go. And there, now we can read the final on the burette. I'm going to pause this. Okay, this is the starting point on the burette for the 4th trial. And again, Dr. Dene has the solution ready to go. He's going to put that under the burette, and he'll get that started. So this is trial number 4.
At room temperature or whatever temperature it was.
These are still at the original temperature that you saw at the early part of this video. So he's got this started, and again, I'm going to pause this while we titrate so you don't have to watch however much it is. Okay, so again, we are getting close to the end point here. I'm not sure how much we've got for the end point. And, okay, he's got drop, drop, drop. And, okay, so
green.
Still kind of greenish. Still green. Okay, another drop. Let's go another drop. Another. Another. Okay. Let's see how that does. Okay, let's call that.
Okay. I'm going to move the burette, get out of the burette clamp.
Sorry, folks. I have a hard time aiming the camera just right here. Okay. All right, so now we can read the ending point on the burette for trial number 4. Okay, I'm going to pause it again while we get ready for the next piece.
Okay, so we're on to part B, the elevated temperature. We have measured out 150 mils of deionized water, and it says you have to boil it for 2 minutes. So we've been heating it and boiling it, and so that's already kind of going. So I'm moving to, we're going to add approximately 2 grams of solid calcium hydroxide, and so I have to weigh out that. So I've zeroed out the balance. Put my weigh boat on there. And I have calcium hydroxide. Okay, and you can see there it's this nice puffy white solid. And I need approximately 2 grams, which is way more than the saturated point, so this will make sure it's saturated. Get about 2 grams. Doesn't really matter exactly how much because there's going to be way more excess solid left anyway.
I might just comment, you might not see at this angle the comma in there. That is not 2,400 or 2,034, that is 2,034, or in English 2.036.
Okay, so that's how much we're putting in. You can record that. All right, and I'll show you approximately how much that is. That's that there, you can see that. Okay, and then once our solution is boiling again, we're going to add that to our water and let it boil for a little while. So here's the white solid. We've got our solution boiling, and it's been boiling for a little while now. I'm going to add the solid, and then it has to boil for 5 more minutes, so we won't bore you with that. Get all that solid in there. So we're making a saturated solution here at a high temperature. Just get it stirring here. Okay, take a little bit.
Okay, so we'll tune in again in about 5 minutes from now when after this is boiled for 5 minutes.
Okay, so it's been boiling for 5 minutes. You can see it there. I'm going to turn the stirrer off. I'm going to set it down. I'm going to measure the temperature, and then I'm going to hot filter it. Okay. So we're going to measure the temperature here. Come on. Okay. Sorry, got the cord in the way there. Okay, that's about the temperature. All right, so now we're going to hot filter this. Now we only need enough so that we can set up our 4 titrations. So we need about 40 milliliters that we're going to have to pipette. So we don't have to filter the whole thing, but we just need to get enough. And I want to get at least enough milliliters so that when we have enough to pipette. We're doing it as fast as we can, so that we don't change the concentration or the temperature too much. So we're going through here. Okay, so according to the beaker measurement, we've got 60 milliliters, which should be great plenty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap out this and do that. Okay, because we don't really need any more than what we have. We're just going to let this sit and drain the rest of the way into there. And so this is our solution. We've got 60 milliliters of it, of the hot solution at the temperature we recorded. And we've got to let it cool before we can do the pipette, because the pipette is not accurate at a high temperature. It's only accurate at 25 degrees or 20 degrees. 20 degrees. So we've got to let it cool down. So we'll join you back when it gets cool. Okay, so we waited for it to cool, and then I went ahead and pipetted 10 mils into each of our 4 samples here of the hot temperature saturated solution that we filtered. And then I added 25 mils of water to each one. I added the 5 drops of indicator in my stir bar to that one. And we're about ready to titrate, refilled my burette. So let's see if we can read off the value off the burette here.
Okay, let's see. Actually, we have to turn this around a little bit. Okay, there's the beginning point for this first titration. Pause it. Okay, so we are almost at the end point here. So we're going to add just another, it has gone obviously from blue to green. And so we're just going to add a drop at a time here if we can, and see if we can get right back to that yellow that we had before. So one more drop. Okay, I think we've got it. So let's go ahead and read the burette now. And there's our final burette reading for sample number 1. Okay, we're ready to start with sample number 2. And since it didn't take a lot this time, we're going to just leave the burette where it was. So this is now the starting point for sample number 2. Okay, so this is sample number 2. So we're getting close to the end point. And so Dr. Dene is titrating. Okay, let's see if that stays yellow. And it looks like it is, so we'll call that done. And we'll go ahead and read this endpoint. Let's see, can we, okay, there's the endpoint. Okay, here is the beginning burette reading, the starting burette reading for sample number 3. Okay, so this is sample number 3, and we're getting close to the end point now. Maybe.
We're getting there.
Yeah, another drop at least. Another drop. Let's see what that does. Now let's go one more drop.
One more.
Okay. Alright, I think that's going to do it. So we'll come in here and let's see. I don't know if you can quite read that. Okay, there's the ending point. There, now we got it. There's the ending point for the third sample. Okay, so this is the starting point for sample 4, but if you didn't catch it earlier, this is also the ending point for sample 3. So again, I'm going to pause so that we can go ahead and do the titration. Okay, here is sample 4. We didn't come quite in. It's already green, so we're probably within a drop or two. Let's try, stop. And I think maybe just 1 drop. There we go. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so
You can see the number up above there is 33.
now drop, yeah, there we go. Okay, so there's the ending point for sample 4.